Hello, everyone, and welcome to an off-season episode of Bodied, a Cloud9 fancast. I'm your host, Howard Puss, and as always, I'm joined by Frozen Creek, my co-host.
Hello. We are back for a quick burst of news. I guess seemingly a lot has kind of happened, but
Yeah, we've been
nothing
away
too
for a couple
major.
of weeks.
Yeah, surprisingly, Overwatch League is back. CS:GO is not a clown show, so we do have a decent amount to talk about. So, how's your quarantine going?
Pretty good. I've been just, continuing to read comic books. I'm waiting on like one book to get delivered, but once I read that, I'll be done with part 5 of my ever-expanding infinite part series of reading the X-Men.
Oh, yeah, you're still working on that?
Yeah, which is actually pretty good because I started this like 2 years ago. And if you can imagine sort of the length of time that of like in terms of like books that I've read, I started at like 1963-ish for X-Men issue 1, and I recently just read X-Men issue 280, which is like in like the early 90s.
Oh wow,
So
so you got a while to go.
yeah, in like 2 years I've read like, oh geez, probably like 30 years worth of comics. So if I can stay on track for that, I should catch up eventually. But that'll probably be a while.
That is a massive undertaking.
It's been great though. I love it.
I finally started to finish Stranger Things on Netflix, and I finished BoJack Horseman, so that's where I'm at. I've been buying a
Oh,
ton of
nice.
games on Switch. Yeah,
Those
I've been
are
I've been trying to
those are
finish
both good
the
shows.
games on Switch, but not having a ton of luck because the Final Fantasy games take for fucking ever,
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
which is not a bad thing, all things considered, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah, I can imagine. But let's get into some news here. Something that I found really interesting and something that everyone should really mark on their calendars. Cloud9 announced a TFT tournament starting July 8th. It's for it seems to be pretty much the whole month of July. You have pro players along with top 20, some other high ranking just TFT solo queue players. And they're just going to have a big ol' heckin' tournament. So definitely mark that on your calendars, July 8th through, I believe most of it, I think it was like maybe through the 20th or something.
Oh wow.
It's a pretty hefty tournament. Like they have a group stage, they're doing a whole heckin' thing. So definitely mark that on your calendars. I'm personally excited just because I think that that's some really great content just to kind of do, as an esports organization. I think we're seeing a lot of organizations, especially recently, like start to create their own tournaments. Like I think 100 Thieves did like a Valorant tournament. I think T1 maybe did something similar-ish. So we're seeing a lot of orgs like being like, hey, we're in this esport. Why not make our own little event that we can stream? And so it makes sense. I think this is great. Like this, along with like their 1v1 tournament that they did. I think that's super cool.
Oh yeah. I wish I was still playing TFT so I could jump in and play, but I have not played more than 3 games of TFT since season 1 or the first set. So
I'm middling around like gold 4, which is the highest rank I've ever been in any like video game. So it's pretty proud that I can get that high, and it's mostly just I know like how to like kind of build the comps and whatnot, so like I can get to that level. But in terms of like micromanaging funds, I use my monkey brain.
yeah, I'm sure I would be silver at best now, but I was like plat 2 in set 1.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I was
That's
not
pretty
great,
good.
but like that's pretty good, I think.
Yeah. Set 1 had like there was like a broken like Lucian thing that I always ran, where it was like you got Lucian, you got him Hush, Blade
Oh
of the
yeah.
Ruin King, and Rapid Fire Cannon, and it was
Uh-huh.
the absolutely the most broken thing. And he would just be so far away, but do so much damage. because you would stack maybe like, I don't know, like maybe get to like tier 2 of Blade Masters, maybe tier 3, and he would do so many autos in one burst.
Yeah, that was super stupid. I was really good with I don't remember what the comp was called, but it had Jinx and like it was Glacial or Glacial Gunslinger or something with
Oh
like
yeah, Jinx was also super broken.
maybe it was I don't know. There were a couple of them, but I do miss set 1 and I probably should pick it back up. It is a fun game.
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure. But I guess moving on, we got some Valorant stuff to kind of talk about because so TenZ did hit the top rank in Valorant. It is called Valorant. Some people think that's stupid. No, I think so personally, I think it's brilliant because I equate it to the X-Men in that the highest rank you can get in being in the X-Men is an X-Man. So to be in Valorant, you have to be a Valorant agent, right? So it makes sense, right? Like they're trying to be a Valorant, okay? Like it makes sense. People think it's dumb. I don't.
Well, like it makes sense in the game, but it doesn't make sense in any other like region.
No, yeah, like
I'm
if
looking
you were to say it, it does sound confusing.
If I'm looking for Valorant highlights on YouTube and I'm looking for a Valorant ranked player playing, I type in Valorant
play.
Yeah, and like there's not really a good way for YouTube to pick that up right now. So you're kind of just overlapping the searches and stuff like that. So I feel like that is a little bit confusing. And even in like Twitch titles, you should just be able to type like challenge or jungle but now you have to type Valorant Viper and it's like, are you playing Valorant or are you a Valorant rank?
Do you want? Yeah. No, I totally get that. I honestly, after saying that, I wonder if they did it on purpose as a joke, just to mess with people. Because my sense of humor, I would totally do that just for people to go, I'm Valorant, and you sound like an idiot. It's the price you pay for being at the top, Frozen. You have to have some kind of like price you pay, right? In this case, it's just your own image as you're talking to people.
Yeah, and maybe they'll switch it once like the beta is done or whatever, but I don't know. It's just kind of weird to me that.
No, yeah, it is weird.
And I don't think they thought it all the way through either.
Yeah, for sure. I do think it's interesting though that we're seeing actually a lot of Overwatch League players transition. Like we're seeing some CS players transition. We're seeing some like Battle Royale. There is a huge influx of Overwatch players. Like most recently, you had Sinatra, who won the championship last year and was the league MVP. You also have Corey from the Washington Justice, who was far and away their best player, and someone who had a huge fan following after the World Cup last year. People are just kind of jumping ship left and right, and it seems like a really worrying state for sort of competitive Overwatch, with everyone kind of leaving to what could be and what seems like the next big esport, and also them like really not seeming to allow the tier 2 scenes to kind of thrive, to bolster people getting into the league.
Yeah, it is kind of weird for me to have an Overwatch League pro jump mid-season when they're making a paycheck at the moment. Like they're jumping from no paycheck they're jumping from a steady paycheck to no paycheck to play a beta game.
He got signed with the team. He's on Sinatra's on Team Sentinel. I know Corey doesn't make as much sense.
Well, like there's no like prize money to really win at this point. There's nothing to really win except maybe a contract or streaming money, which you can still stream Overwatch and such and make money that way. And like your mid-season, which is shitty also, like you probably signed a contract of some sort.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I think that from what I see, it's kind of a business move of you need to get on the ground floor to really grow your brand so you can get noticed early by teams. Because the best players, I think, right now, since it's in beta, a lot of their equity is going to come from their streams and showing that they have really good skills in this game. And I think that with Overwatch players, they have good team skills because Overwatch is a really team-heavy game. Like, you really rely on your teammates and coordinating with your teammates. So I think that it's a business move. You see the huge popularity that Valorant does have. So I think that it makes sense from a business perspective. I do question some orgs forming teams already since, we're still in the beta. Like the 0.5 patch just released, like, I don't know, maybe like like an hour ago or something. But like, we're still in the beta. There haven't really been that many tournaments either. There's only been like a couple, I think, off the top of my head that I can think of. So I don't really think that you can for sure really sign a team with any confidence. Like, we have TenZ, but he had his previous history in CS and was really talented, and he has shown through playing Valorant, hey, we can have him as a Valorant player maybe. We've seen through his stream, and plus he was already contracted with Cloud9, so there's nothing to lose there. But with other players, just like an org picking them up to play Valorant, it seems like it's a big gamble right now because you never know like who's really going to be good and who won't. Once the game actually gets released and it's more like finely tuned.
Yeah, but it is a major gamble, and I think if I were betting on Blizzard or Riot to make a more lucrative and long-term esport, I would also bet on Riot.
Yeah, they definitely know how to handle the esports scene like really well.
Yeah, based on the fact that League of Legends is the biggest game in the world, and Overwatch,
plus people aren't leaving in droves.
Yeah, and Overwatch is dying every month.
Yeah,
slow, painful death to like the point where they had to schedule a quote unquote Overwatch 2. Which I don't even know when it comes out.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Do you have to buy it to keep playing the game?
I'm not sure. I think there was mix. I think there was something where it's like you don't have to technically buy it. Like, you can play it. I think you can get it for free to play like one game mode, I think. But if you wanted to play the full gamut of what Overwatch 2 offered, I think you had to buy it. But like all of your skins and stuff from Overwatch do get transferred over. If you're playing on like the same account. So like you don't have to like try to re-get skins, which is good. But like the Overwatch 2 thing seems like such a mess because they just like randomly announce like, hey, we're doing Overwatch 2, and everyone's like, what? And it's really confusing, and there's been no news on it since they announced it. So it's a whole thing. I'm really curious also to see how this whole thing goes and where things kind of settle, once the Valorant scene kind of picks up more and the game actually does get released, which I think is maybe in July or no, it's in the fall. I think they may be targeting for like September for the full release, quote unquote.
All right. Well, while there is a lot of news of people leaving Overwatch, there still are a lot of people left. So on that note, we did have the Spitfire and Hurricanes play this weekend. So I will let you run that down because I did not get a chance to watch.
Oh yeah, like to watch the Spitfire game, since they're in Korea playing, you had to wake up at like, for you, Frozen, you'd have to wake up at like 6 a.m. I had to wake up at 5. So
yeah, I wasn't going to.
I don't blame you for missing it. But they had a 3-0 win against the Chengdu Hunters, and then they lost 1-3 to the Guangzhou Charge. And I think this was a pretty good rollout for the team, kind of returning back after like pretty much like 2 solid months of just them not playing any sort of competitive matches. Against the Hunters, they looked really great. It looked like everyone was a bit more put together. This was, I think, also all those premier matches because he was, I think, under 18 when he was signed. He had a really, really good May, which really complemented the team in terms of Glister playing and everything. The 1-3 loss to Guangzhou Charge, it was definitely a winnable match. It was really close. Like, the 1-3 scoreline looks, like, oh, well, they got crushed. But it was a really, really tight game. After that match, I do have kind of some questions about how the team is kind of going to go, because JMac only played Orisa, basically. Like, outside of switching to Wrecking Ball to stall a point, he only played Orisa. This team looks very rigid in their compositions. Like, they don't really change it. Like, they were playing up against like a heavy dive comp in the charge matches, in the individual games, but they didn't change it up at all. So it has me worried, like, well, it seems like we kind of have a really one-dimensional champion pool. What happens when Orisa gets banned, right? Can JMac play? Like, what does JMac devolve back to? Does he go to Reinhardt, which is still heavy shield, and do we try to play that with like a Sigma? Do we try to do dive? I don't think I've ever seen him play Winston. And it kind of brings back going back to season 2, where you have a main tank, but they can't play a certain champion. Like, Gesture could not play Reinhardt at all, and it was so frustrating. Is this going to be a similar thing of JMac can't play like Winston or other tank heroes, and it's going to be really frustrating to see him play anything else. I know we have Jaihoon, who recently turned 18, and he's like our secondary main tank. But yeah, our champion pools seem like really one-dimensional right now. These are still rookies, so I kind of can't blame them. I think that them taking off the couple months to probably just practice super hard, it looks like they've definitely improved since the last time we saw them. I'm really curious to see how our next match is going to go, because we play against Shanghai Dragons and the Hangzhou Spark this weekend. And the Dragons, I think, actually have a pretty good record. And let me look just as...
They're 10-2 right now. They're first.
Yeah, they're 10
in their
they're 10-2. That's a pretty good record. I have no illusions that we're probably going to get crushed. And I haven't really heard much about the Hangzhou Spark. They're 12th. So we could probably beat them.
Yeah.
But it might be another 1 week.
Yeah, and right now we're sitting on the fringe of playoffs, right behind Seoul, based on map difference. So we're still in good striking position. But now that Shanghai is sitting at the best in their conference, how can we forget that they went like 0-48 or some shit?
They still
2 years ago.
to this day.
Last year, 2 years ago.
No, yeah, it was 2 years ago, and I think it also
ever
spilled over. It spilled over to season 2 a little bit, but they still to this day have the world record for longest loss streak of any professional sports team.
Yeah, it was truly impressive, and that's coming from a Lions fan who went to football games during their 0-16 year. Like, that's impressive.
Oh yeah, like it's like how the Shanghai Dragons came into the scene was so odd and so like baffling, just because they started off as this like all Chinese roster, so it's like, okay, we're gonna see what Chinese Overwatch has to bring, and then they just got annihilated. And then I think they tried to do like some mixed like Chinese Korean players. It still didn't work out. No one seemed to know what to do and like how to play and everything. Now they're 10-2. They're sitting at the top of the standings. That has to be just a crazy feat of coaching and roster management to turn your program around like that.
Yeah, it is truly impressive. So honestly, part of me hopes Overwatch League stays for a couple more years, just so we can always go back and talk about that, because that's up there with like one of the most impressive feats ever. And it was also insane to like see how they would lose sometimes. Like, they were the best at grasping defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah.
So
Overwatch is crazy.
I'm here for them being good though, as long as we.
Oh yeah, same. I'm super proud of them.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, we play Shanghai at 6 a.m. and
they have to wake up for it.
Hangzhou Spark at 6 a.m. So not ideal, but for those not near us, that's pretty good.
Yeah, for those European viewers, you probably got some pretty prime time watching time. So let us know how it is, maybe.
Yeah, so those who are bold enough to stay up. We also had the British Hurricanes this week.
Oh yeah, so they're like the best team in EU contenders by far. They sweeped their final. Like, they're doing something weird with contenders where it's like each week is like a mini tournament, right? And so you get points based off of that, and then you play like I think like a small bracket. We crushed it. I'm pretty sure we won last week. We won the week 2, gauntlet, whatever you want to call it. Week 3, we absolutely crushed it. I think I even tweeted out asking who would win British Hurricanes versus London Spitfire, just because it's basically tier 2 level players versus tier 2 level players. The only difference is one is a Korean Overwatch roster and the other is a European one. And so far, our European roster has always been pretty strong. And this roster that we have now, there's a lot of question marks. So it would definitely be a really interesting match.
Yeah, and I think now that there are some players leaving, hopefully some of the Hurricanes get a shot playing in Overwatch League at this point.
Oh, 100%. I definitely want to see some of the guys, especially some who have been on the team for a while, to get picked up, because they definitely deserve it. Because the British Hurricanes players historically have worked really hard and have usually gotten pretty far and pretty high in standings. So it's definitely a deserved accolade for them.
Yeah, so do you know if they play this weekend? I don't think it's listed on the Overwatch app.
Let's see. I'd have to go.
If not, it's okay. It's listed.
The contender site is giving me a 404 error, so let's leave that to be determined.
Thank you, Overwatch League.
So good. Honestly, I have nothing else for Overwatch. I do want to talk about CS:GO just a little bit.
Yeah, I did get a chance to watch. I guess a lot has happened since last time we talked.
Yeah, the Cloud9 Revenge Tour came and went. We did beat all 3 teams who have had former C9 players at least once during this Road to Rio ESL event. We beat Evil Geniuses, who have Tarek. We beat Genji at least once. We did fall to them in the winners semifinals or whatever. But in the group stage, we beat them, and that has like Automatic and Daps, and I forgot the third guy. And we beat in the third place match Kusta, yes, Kusta. And most importantly, Frozen, in the third place match, we took down Team Liquid, who had Stewie 2K 2-1. So that feels pretty good.
Yeah, a good comeback too. Oh, we lost our map, which was the first pick, and then we kind of just dragged our balls across the stage and knocked out Team Liquid like bowling pins.
Yeah, they do this a lot, where their maps will be like really swingy, where they will be up like 6-2, and I'm like, okay, we got this. And then it will go to like, why are you now 6-10? What did you do? And then it will then go the other way of, how did you guys win 16-12? Like, they're this insanely streaky team, and I know they're a young team and they're still learning and everything, so it's kind of expected. I think they take down Team Liquid, who I think is ranked number 5 in the HLTV rankings, is a pretty big deal. We're number 17, I think, the last time.
Yeah, we jumped into the top 20 for the first time in a really long time.
Which feels really good, I think, just from a Cloud9 fan, seeing that our team is at least in the top 20 again, and we're not like some joke of a team that's like they clearly don't have their shit together. Like, we have a team that has their stuff together. We can win games. We can beat higher ranking teams. And, if we had like all the time in the world to improve, I think we could definitely get a lot of stuff done, if we had like a hyperbolic time chamber or something.
Yeah, and it is super good to see. Actually, I'm looking at the Envy game where we played Envy in knockout stages. We started out down 6-0, ended up at 8 or 7-1, then won 6 in a row, lost 1, won 8 in a row, lost 3, then won our 16th game that way. Incredibly streaky.
Yeah, it's like
super
that,
fun to watch.
It's like that Breaking Bad gif where Aaron Paul's just like, they can't keep getting away with it.
And somehow we normally do most of the time, sometimes.
Yeah, it's very weird. Hopefully they can work on that. I think that's something they definitely need to work on. But for the moment, it gets things done, and we win games off of it. So good job, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what. Okay, so we get tournament circuit points for this for the major. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly
So
sure what the
it's all point
outcome is,
based.
though.
I think what happens is there's going to be maybe a few more events, and I think that to go from a region, you have to, I think, be in like the top 3.
Okay.
Or you have to like have a certain number of points. I think we're in 3rd place in terms of. Well, I think at least from this we're 3rd place now. I think so. We just have to try to maintain where we're at, and we can probably go. I think it depends on what the other events are and how it, works out.
Yeah, and the road to Rio or the major was pushed back to November because of the virus. So there's still plenty of time.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they can continue to improve and get ready and go to the major, because I think that would be huge for this roster to at least participate in the major. Like, I have no illusions that they would probably get out of the group stage. Even if they did, I'm not sure if they would get really far in the bracket, because they'd have to face a lot of the European teams, and the European teams are really good at the moment. But just to see them go to the major after the pretty much solid year of C9 and CSGO being just utter crap, and having like a revolving door of roster changes, it would be a really big moment.
Yeah, and as an NA team, I'm used to going to groups and getting knocked out. So
yes,
I'm used to watching NA teams go to groups and get knocked out. So maybe we'll get the Cloud9 run, but
yeah, we'll just have to see. But it'll be super exciting.
All right, so when we're talking about winning things, Fudge won the C9 1v1 tournament. Did you get a chance to watch that?
I watched a little bit of it. Yeah, it was
me
a
too.
really fun event, just to kind of like Monty casted it. It was like Monty, West Rice, and I can't remember who else. But it was a really fun, just little thing that they streamed. It wasn't, super high stakes or anything, but it was really fun. You got to see the players kind of like banter against each other and whatnot, and they were playing. Fudge beat Niski in the finals, which
was kind of troll.
It was pretty silly.
Yeah, he locked in Renekton like immediately for some reason, and then Fudge was like, "Okay, fine, I'll pick Quinn."
And then I think didn't like the next game or the last game, Niski picked Quinn, and then he was like, "Wait, how does this champion work?" And he lost because he just had no clue how Quinn worked.
Yeah, and I finally got to see why Quinn is OP into a Renekton. When Fudge played it. I'm not a Quinn or Renekton player, so I've never seen the misery of playing our Renekton in that matchup, but I felt really bad for Niski.
Oh yeah. Like if you're really good at playing range, tops into like those really melee focused top laners who have like really short ranges and can't like really get to you, it's probably just like this feeling of that you want to die, and there is no escape.
Yeah,
because they'll chase you down. Like once they get like Bork and they get a couple other items, you really can't do much. They'll just run at you and then they'll just kill you.
Yeah, and I finally got to see the pain firsthand, but it was still good for Fudge. I think he's grown a ton this year.
Oh yeah, Fudge is probably definitely going places. Like the fact that a lot of the players on Academy aren't in the LCS is kind of criminal. I'm hoping that at least for 2021, once the full swing of the season does die down, we can at least see a few of these Academy players get picked up to the main stage, because they all definitely deserve it. And I think it's a shame if they don't. Either that the paychecks and everything that Cloud9 is giving them is so much better than playing on the LCS stage for another org, or orgs just aren't prioritizing, more like NA driven talent and are trying to like still do what I see is kind of a broken model of importing a lot from Europe and from Korea.
Yeah, and I think we know that NA orgs are not going to invest in talent. So
yeah, C9 really is the only one that actually tries to develop talent.
And
I really don't see all the other orgs are either budget orgs that try to make rosters off of a budget and try to improve them from there, or something like TSM or Team Liquid, where we're going to use our money to just try to buy players that already have a high ceiling and hope that they gel well with other players and try to do like these sort of super group rosters.
Yeah, like Dardoch.
That's a good transition to talk about that whole mess of a scenario.
Yeah, so I don't remember if we had a chance to talk about the double lift.
We didn't. That happened while we were doing like our separated out episodes. Like as soon as we were like, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, the double lift situation happened. And now this on top of his situation just kind of makes it a really gross ball of poor managing.
Yeah, so I'm sure most of you know TSM decided they wanted double lift, dropped Kabi after bringing him over from Europe, and I'm not okay. I've said this before. I don't like Monty. I don't like Thorin, and I generally disagree with everything they say. But I think they really hit the nail on the head talking about how this shouldn't be allowed. The player or there shouldn't be there should be a rule for the LCS that an owner cannot be dating one of their players.
Oh yeah,
it's a ton of competitive reasons, a ton of just immoral reasons, and I was fighting for this on a Reddit defending Monty and Thorin, which is not something I would ever almost do. But I had people arguing with me saying like this isn't any kind of problem. But we did see it come to fruition yesterday. We are recording this on Tuesday, so Monday, it was picked up on Double Lift stream. Lena, the president of esports for TSM, I believe, she was talking about a private player and how nobody wants him, and it was Dardoch. So, and she even went on to the TSM subreddit and said that this has happened before, where she talks about private business while Double Lift is streaming, and it makes me wonder if this was happening before.
Was when he was on Team Liquid.
Exactly. So if that's not problematic, like, I don't know what is, because that is a massive advantage for Team Liquid. Like, Double F could go spill all the beans about this stuff, even if Lena is quote unquote not involved in LCS, as Reggie said in a statement on Reddit earlier today or last night. So
it was last night. The whole situation is just really messy, and I remember, Riot even investigated, like, well, is this a conflict of interest? And they're like, no, we didn't see any problems. We're going to approve this trade. And at first I was like, okay, looking at, seeing everyone's side of the story, seeing that Riot approved it, I thought, okay, it's definitely a super sketchy situation, but it seems like Double Lift and Lena at least try to keep it as professional as possible. With this coming out, it's like, oh, so y'all just lied, I guess. And this really, in terms of a player integrity standpoint, this is really just unacceptable, because Double Lift and Lena, like, vice versa, are just privy to like every bit of information that their orgs prior to this were about, and Double Lift being able to know the value of players, if TSM is trying to do any sort of roster moves, it really isn't good, and the fact that their apologies are essentially not, I'm sorry that I probably fucked Dardoch's career, it's that I'm sorry I got caught messing up Dardoch's career. And that's really what the statements Reggie and Lena are saying. It's not that they're acknowledging that what they did was wrong. They're acknowledging that we were caught, and now we're having to play, clean up to try and fix a situation that's pretty gross and not not ideal.
Yeah, and I really think that Riot should do something about this kind of conflict of interest rules where Lena cannot participate in any LCS related things, because even though Reggie said she didn't, like, she's obviously dealing with.
Yeah, she obviously did, so you're
In
lying.
some capacity. Yeah, in some capacity. I mean, it could be extremely minor. It could just be shopping.
No, yeah, it could be minor, but she's
capacity.
still involved in it, which is still a problem.
Yeah, and I feel like, and I don't know how much it actually damages Dardoch's career, because if nobody wanted him, like, this isn't going to change any of that. And I think in an ideal world, the players union would step in and
but that
do something
also
about this conflict.
that also brings up an interesting point, though, because Bjergsen, Biofrost, and Doublelift are all chair members of the Players Association.
Yep, all
so,
on one team.
That creates a wholly another problem, even if the Players Association, who historically has done nothing, is going to all of a sudden step in and look at this. They would, ethically, they'd have to recuse themselves from any kind of discussions and decision making, if that was going to happen. But who even knows what they're going to do, if anything, because the Players Association is really just a figurehead in place for Riot to say, look, we care about what's going on with the players. They have a say in what goes on, but the only thing that they've really done to date is have them allowed to do in-houses, and that was like approved last year in like November. So they really don't do anything. I guess the only devil's advocate for Dardoch is that his career has been kind of on thin ice for a while. Like, every team that I remember, every time he gets signed to a team, he would get dropped like mid-season or right after the split, because he basically had personality issues and he would be toxic and he would cause problems with the team environment. And he has been hopping around from team to team, and he's never stayed on a team very long. So people can change. I haven't really heard much about Dardoch's personality. From what I've heard, Dardoch was never really close with the TSM players. Once the split was over, he never talked with anyone, or no one has talked with him. So it could be just, it was a very business relationship in TSM. I don't know, but neither party is really doing each other any favors. Like, Dardoch kind of hurt his value with having to bounce around from a lot of teams due to his personality early on. TSM hurt their, themselves and their brand by basically having conflicts of interest and not handling and managing their player situation in a professional and ethical way. So both parties are kind of screwed.
Yeah, and I honestly, I wouldn't want to be in that position.
Oh no, you're screwed either way. I think that, like, I would not be surprised if Dardoch, like, maybe sued, just because they really did hurt, like, his negotiating power, which is really important in sports. I really think TSM should be punished in some way.
Yeah, 100%. And to kind of finish my point, I wouldn't want to be a jungler for that team. Like, your mid laner's part owner of the team, and your ADC is banging the president of esports for your team. Like, that's an awful position to be in for anyone on that team.
Oh yeah,
you the coach. It's awful. It's
I think even
wrong.
as a coach, like, Reggie essentially steps in and tries to coach the team anyway. So I think that if you're so ingrained in TSM like Bjergsen and Doublelift currently are, it makes it impossible for you, say, you're just arguing in scrims and saying that what I did was right, what you did was incorrect. There's no way that you're going to have any backup, because it's like, what am I going to do? Am I going to piss Bjergsen off and then have him just talk to Reggie and say, like, this guy isn't working out. Because Reggie will listen to Bjergsen before he listens to me. So like you basically have to please 3 people in hope that you don't get fired, which I don't think should be the case when you're working on a team. That's not really a team environment. That's more some sort of weird tribunal situation where you have like a council and Bjergsen, Doublelift, and Reggie are kind of sitting at the table and be like, okay, who do we cut? And, they know pretty well that, their jobs are pretty much safe and there's no way that TSM would ever cut them.
Yeah, and it is incredibly messed up, the whole situation. But I do want to add that I don't have any problems with Eileen. She's obviously very successful. She's done a ton for the TSM brand and is very qualified for the work that she's doing. But she's still young, and she put herself into a shitty situation. And I think all of us can speak for that we've all done stupid shit like that at work. And those of us who are old enough, we've all made massive mistakes at work. But she has been a driver behind TSM being arguably being the biggest esports brand in the world, and the work that she's doing is obviously incredibly valuable. And I'm hoping that they can take this as a learning experience for not just TSM, but for a Riot, the Players Association, and all that, because I don't think that this situation is okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. Also, it could be a learning experience for Riot on a situation you actually have to punish an org for, because Cloud9, I remember, was punished during the off season for the whole player equity thing.
Yeah.
Listening to the crackdown that Jack was on, it was on Riot's end. Like it was a clerical error on Riot's part, but they were like, we're gonna punish you. So it made, like how Riot kind of handles punishing and investigating stuff seems to be very haphazard, and the people that should get punished never seem to get punished, and people that don't deserve it get it, and they seem to flip a coin to kind of decide on who's actually in the wrong and who isn't, regardless of any kind of bearing on what actually happens.
Yeah, and there's like a running joke in college football that, like, if Kansas does something wrong, they're always going to punish like Kansas State or something for something that Kansas did wrong, or that would be football or basketball. But like if a big team does something wrong, like the smallest teams are going to get punished every single time. And I don't remember the whole situation regarding Cloud9, but I do remember that there were some flags there, and I don't think that Jack did everything correctly.
Apparently he did. Like, listening to the crackdown, he says that he had like email chains of him talking with Riot employees and making sure, like, through every step of him doing this whole equity deal, he made sure, like, hey, is this okay? Is this okay? And he has correspondence with Riot employees saying, like, yes, this is okay. Yes, you can do this. But on Riot's end, they didn't do things properly, and then it got messed up, and he had to pay a fine because of something. That's at least according to him. And listening to that bit, I know that you have to take everything with a grain of salt, but it seems very silly.
Oh well, yeah, but Reggie also said that Elena doesn't do anything for the LCS team, so there is a big grain of salt there, I will say. This is coming out on Tuesday. There's an episode of the Nines coming with Monty, Thorin, and Loco.
I think that's today, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So this will be out after that episode, but it's being recorded before. I'm kind of actually scared to see what they're going to say, because Thorin is kind of an asshole, and he...
Oh, they'll definitely be more riled up about it than...
Yeah, and I don't agree with almost everything they do or say, but I'm sure they will make some good points, and they will be assholes also, because that's who they are.
Yeah.
But I think that's about it. There's no MSI. There's nothing coming up to look forward to until what, June 12th?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's when the LCS season starts up again. We'll probably do another episode in a couple of weeks. Unless something like super huge happens, C9 signs a team or something. Until then, thanks for listening again. Make sure to follow us at C9 Bodied, and we'll see you when we see you.
Yeah, let's try and get a guest in for next time. That might be too soon, but for our LCS preview, we will do what we can.
Yee.
Since we're 4.5 weeks out.
Yes.
All right. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.